On July 28, 2026, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake ripped through southern Japan, trapping shoppers in a collapsed mall. By the time rescuers pulled 34 bodies from the rubble, a grim fact was clear: the nation with the world's first and most advanced earthquake early warning network could not alert the people above the fault. This is not a design flaw, it's a physical impossibility. In the next 8 minutes, we'll show you the race of waves that makes every warning system blind at the epicenter and the technology racing to close that gap. At 3:45 p.m. on July 28, 2026, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck Kyushu, instantly flattening a shopping mall and trapping dozens under concrete slabs. Japan's earthquake early warning system, the world's first nationwide network, switched on in 2007, sprang to life. Its 4,235 seismometers caught the initial P wave in milliseconds. But at the epicenter, the destructive S wave hit at the same time. The result? Not a single phone in that mall buzzed with an alert. The ground shaking was already tearing the building apart before any warning could be compiled. The official death toll later rose to 34. As JMA's own guidelines state, areas near the epicenter may experience strong tremors before any warning is issued. That line, buried in a user manual, was written in blood on July 28. Every quake releases two types of waves. P waves shoot through the crust at about 6 km per second, swift but gentle. S waves follow at half that speed, bringing the violent, damaging motion. The EEW system exploits this gap. When two or more of the 4,235 stations sense P waves, JMA's computers calculate the quake's location and magnitude within seconds. If it's severe, alerts fire off to cell towers, broadcasters, and automated infrastructure. The warning window can be just a few seconds, or up to 60, even 90 seconds for a deep, distant monster like the 2011 Tohoku megaquake. In Tokyo, that meant surgeries paused, elevators opened, and millions ducked under desks, all before the shaking arrived. This entire chain traces back to Japan Railways' UREDAS system from the 1990s, which automatically hit the brakes on Shinkansen trains the moment shaking was detected. That split-second reaction is the engine of the world's best early warning network, but its fuel is distance, and distance is not always on your side. The catch: the warning window is entirely a function of distance. After a P wave is detected, processing and issuing an alert takes 5 to 10 seconds. In that time, the S wave has already traveled up to 30 kilometers. Anyone inside that radius is in the blind zone. The alert arrives after the shaking. During the 2011 Tohoku disaster, Tokyo received almost 90 seconds of warning, but coastal communities near the epicenter were shaken long before sirens sounded. The system's hit rate, the fraction of warnings that came before strong shaking, plummeted to 28% in fiscal 2010, overwhelmed by the cascade of aftershocks. It recovered to 56% the following year, but the message was clear: close-in quakes will always outrun the code. Then, on July 30, 2020, the trade-off between speed and accuracy backfired. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake south of Japan was wrongly calculated as a 7.3. Shooting a false alarm across Tokyo. No significant tremors occurred. Speed prevented a correct estimate, just as it prevents any alert at ground zero. Both are sides of the same coin. To tackle the blind spot, Japan deployed the PLUM method on March 22, 2018. PLUM propagation of local undamped motion ignores the hypocenter and magnitude. Instead, it takes the actual shaking intensity measured by stations already being hit and forecasts how that motion will propagate in the next few seconds. It's a nowcast that can issue a supplementary alert, sometimes reaching districts just outside the blind zone before the heaviest S waves arrive. Simultaneously, researchers have fixed their sights on an exotic signal, prompt elastigravity signals, or PEGs. When a massive quake abruptly moves billions of tons of rock, it generates a gravitational disturbance that travels at the speed of light, outracing even P waves. After the 2011 Tohoku quake, scientists isolated these pegs in historical seismic records. Since then, Japanese and international labs have been in a quiet arms race to build detectors that can turn pegs into a zero-latency trigger. If they succeed, an alert could theoretically land at the epicenter before the shaking starts. While gravity detection is still in the lab, already deployed automation is eating into the blind zone. The Shinkansen network has relied on automated braking since the UREDAS system of the 1990s. In March 2026, Asahi Shimbun reported that a new array of ocean-bottom seismometers coupled with faster algorithms gives bullet trains an extra 20 seconds to brake before megaquake shaking arrives. At cruising speeds of 300 km per hour, 20 seconds is the difference between a controlled deceleration and a disaster. When the 7.1 quake rattled Kyushu months later, not a single Shinkansen derailed in the affected area. Passengers felt a firm smooth stop, nothing more. The US Shake Alert system follows the same philosophy, triggering trains to slow and gas valves to close automatically when big quakes are detected. These automated reflexes are the near-term answer to the blind zone, infrastructure that doesn't wait for human reaction. By January 2026, half a dozen countries had nationwide early warning systems, and the US Shake Alert covered over 50 million people on the West Coast, issuing wireless alerts for any quake above magnitude 5.0 that rattles dishes or windows. Yet every single network wrestles the same physics. No electronic alert can beat seismic waves to the epicenter. The 34 lives lost in Kyushu are a stark reminder that the best warning system in the world still draws a blank at ground zero. So engineers are changing the target. Instead of warning everyone, they're wiring the world to protect itself in those fatal first seconds. Gravity signal detectors, AI-driven nowcasts, and automated infrastructure are compressing the blind zone from seconds to milliseconds. The impossible gap won't vanish, but making it smaller with every quake is now the driving mission. The 2026 Kyushu earthquake didn't reveal a broken system, it revealed a law of nature. Japan's warning network performed perfectly, giving precious seconds to millions while having zero to give to those above the rupture. That blind spot is not failure, it's the cost of tectonic life. Now, with gravity signals on the horizon and every train, pipeline, and phone being hardened to react in milliseconds, Japan is pushing the boundary of what's possible. The early warning will always be early for someone else. The race is to make someone else include everyone. That is the hard-won lesson of July 28, and it is the reason Japan's early warning system, for all its brilliance, will never be finished.